Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cinema Savvy News. It is myself, George, hosting it once again, and I'm joined by Christopher Garner tonight. How are you, Chris?
Doing very well. There's kind of a mix-up, or I guess mishap, with the planning of this episode tonight. And literally, like probably an hour ago, we got confirmation of a huge news story which completely changed our title and theme for this episode. So shaky planning stage, but we're there now, ready to talk the news. Should be a quick show tonight as well.
Yes, it's been a dead week of news, and we are so happy this has come out because we get to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor, Star Wars, the fun stuff. Let's just go straight to it. In the last hour, it has come out that it's not official via StarWars.com. However, it's basically official. It's through like Hollywood Reporter, Variety, the usual news places, and they've come out exclusive. The Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone film is in development, and at the minute we have a director who I've already forgotten the name of, Stephen
Daldry.
Stephen Daldry, best known for directing Billy Elliot, Incredibly Loud and Close, that Oscar film. Basically, the Obi-Wan film's happening. That's what you need to take in. At the minute, they have said that not Obi-Wan. What? At the minute, Ewan McGregor.
He is Obi-Wan.
He is Obi-Wan. At the minute, Ewan McGregor is not signed on, but Disney aren't stupid. We're not stupid. Ewan McGregor's not stupid. He said for the last 4 years. He's desperate to play him. And every time they mentioned it the last year, he'd smile. Does anyone think he wouldn't sign on? Like, this is clearly happening. So there's like kind of part A, but it is massive news, but it's something that I think anyone that knows anything about Star Wars and what Disney are doing, it was expected that we would get this standalone film at some point, but I'm just happy it's coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we knew this was going to happen. We knew it was probably going to be the next spin-off, unquestionably. It was just when were we going to get the news? Like, we thought Celebration, didn't happen at Celebration. We thought D23, it was confirmed that Ewan McGregor was on site there, didn't get any news there. And now just like completely offhandedly, we just get it sprung on us at this point. I'm happy about this. Like, no one wants a Han Solo spin-off. I'm sure there's one person out there that does. Everyone wants this. Like, everyone, like the one thing you could go back to the prequels. If there's prequel haters, the one thing that everyone stands up and says were fantastic are the Emperor and Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm really happy about this. The director's kind of an orthodox choice, but that's kind of going back to what their choices of directors have been so far. But we've seen their track records with the spin-off directors, so hopefully Stephen Daldry gets to make the movie he wants to make, although I'm sure that Disney are going to have some input. Billy Elliot's a great film. I haven't seen The Hours or his other TV shows or anything like that, but, you know, he's been nominated for a lot of directorial awards and Emmys as well with his shows. He did The Crown as well from this year. So I'm sure it's a solid choice. We don't know anything about the film or the plot or anything like that. I was thinking about where it's going to take place. It's clearly obviously going to be in between 3 and 4. But, you know, Rebels has covered a lot with Obi-Wan in between. The storyline I would have done would have been in, you know, bring back Darth Maul. Imagine the fans there. We get Obi-Wan back, we get Darth Maul. But Rebels has kind of, you know, tied that storyline up already. I'm sure they've got a story planned of what they can do with it, but anything like that. But Ewan McGregor, of course, he's going to come back. He's done Beauty and the Beast. He's signed on for Disney's next live action thing with Winnie the Pooh. He's tied into the Disney family now. He's coming back for this, hands down.
Yeah, and I think with the director, it is an odd choice because if you look at how it's gone post Disney takeover, you had J.J. Abrams, the kind of the reboot king, I guess you could say. You know, the guy that is a very safe bet to reboot a franchise or whatnot. First thing, I'm a massive Star Wars fan as a kid. Number 2, you had Gareth Edwards. I'm a massive Star Wars fan as a kid, young up-and-coming director. Director number 3, let's not forget. I've already forgotten his name. Josh Trank. No, before we have Josh Trank. Star Wars inspired me as a kid, up-and-coming director. Then Fantastic happened. Then we had Phil Lord and Chris Miller, up-and-coming directors, big Star Wars fans, had Star Wars scenes in the Lego movie. Look how that turned out. And Rian Johnson, Star Wars inspired me, world-class filmmaker. Colin Trevorrow, loved Star Wars as a kid. It's massive. Young up-and-coming director. Same with Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson is a good director, though. Now we have, well, obviously we've had Ron Howard. That doesn't really count, but this is the first time that Ara hired someone, not just of an older age, but someone who you wouldn't associate with Star Wars outright. And I'm sure he will come out and say he was a massive fan as a kid. Well, as a kid, maybe in his teen years. But if you look at his work, it's very drama-based. He's been nominated for 3 Best Director Oscars. And I feel that, I wouldn't say this is a change of shape for their films for the future, because I feel that Disney are still very much going to hire the people they think is going to be best for the project they're trying to work on. But this to me means we're getting a dramatic, I don't say dramatic film, but this is going to be more drama than it is action and explosions and stuff. And I think that is precisely what this film needs, especially with the character and the placement of Obi-Wan in the Star Wars timeline at the minute.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't know whereabouts they're going to set this. It might be before Rebels, it might be after Rebels, but it's weird. Like, obviously, with Rogue One, it leads right into A New Hope. The Han Solo spin-off, we don't know. The end shot could be him in the cantina with his arms stretched out in that booth. With this one, I hope we don't get CGI Alec Guinness and we kind of like morph from Ewan McGregor into that. I hope they don't do that because, you know, I could definitely do an Obi-Wan trilogy with Ewan McGregor. Absolutely, like, bring that on. But in terms of news, though, I'm just happy it's happening. And I guess now we have our spin-off that's going to happen after Episode 9 now.
Yeah, I'm convinced. I don't think we'll get a trilogy. And honestly, I would much rather they went with one film, and I can imagine if it was a massive hit or whatnot, that if they needed him in the future, they'd chuck him into something for fans' sake. I mean, he did give a line of dialogue to The Force Awakens, and for all we know, he might appear in Episode 8 as a Force Ghost. I doubt it, but the one thing as well is that Stephen Daldry would oversee the development, and he would be writing it with the Lucasfilm brass. By brass, they mean story group. I guess that is common sense, and again, I think of sort of and what he's worked on, I'd imagine he would be making sure. I wouldn't say he's got creative control because he's not that done, but I think he'd want to be like, this is my story, this is my vision, let me do it and I will come back to you with stuff. I think he'd rather they aim for that rather than have them leaning over him like a hawk. I'm sure they will do in some way or another, but I think that this could be a very clever decision to go for someone who's a director more so than a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we could talk about Star Wars much longer, but we've got to get through this quickly. So shall we move on to Warner Brothers now with Justice League news? And I guess by proxy, we also have the Batman news as well, and a whole behind-the-scenes thing that's gone on with that. So Warner Brothers have ordered reshoots on Justice League. That was obvious. We knew that because apparently after a rumored first viewing, the film was considered unwatchable. And that's a quote. So DC fanboys, you can leave your hate mail at them, not me. They wanted substantial changes. Apparently the ending is changing, so it doesn't finish with a cliffhanger now. I think the rumor is that it was going to lead to Darkseid when it was going to be a two-parter. When they've decided to do two separate films, they're reworking the ending. But I want to know how much they're spending on these reshoots, because these are very substantial. Like we saw that with Suicide Squad. And, you know, I guess that was just to change the tone and everything like that and rework that. But this is like proper narrative, story, direction, tone, like everything seems to be packaged into these reshoots that don't sound like your usual reshoots that you get on every other movie. And, you know, I'm not stupid. Like I know that every other film does have reshoots there, especially big budget ones. But these seem like they don't have a clue and they're just like hodgepodging this thing together at this point.
Yeah, because I think the original report was that from a couple of weeks ago, it was about 25 mil they'd put into it, but we don't know. That number could grow. It could be less, but regardless, it's still a massive number for reshoots, especially for a film with a budget of probably 250 mil before the reshoots. I'm happy with them changing the ending. Like, I know they've said they would get rid of part 1 or 2, but in all honesty, if it was going to be a two-part, it didn't need a cliffhanger, and we didn't know to do it. But if they have ordered this reshoots to change ending, then I'd say it makes a lot more sense, because I think a lot of people are tired of sort of sequel baiting. And even with the Avenger films, yes, the Infinity War is going to be a two-part, but there's already been 2 Avenger films before then, and they didn't directly lead to each other. For the first Justice League film, just set up the Justice League as a team and as a concept for audiences to take away, and then do your sequels, rather than say, you know what, let's just start with Justice League 1, 2, bam, and continue. It's DC, you know, playing catch up again, and that's the reality of it. Don't get so upset. It's the reality that they are playing catch up. They're about, wow, they were originally 6 years behind when Man of Steel came out to the MCU, but it feels that they're almost 20 films behind. There hasn't even been 20 Marvel films yet.
And they're one saving grace at the minute for me. If we're going to like jump to the Batman story now, so for me with this DCU at the minute, what am I looking forward to? More Wonder Woman sequels and the Batman, or the Batman trilogy, which might be happening now with Matt Reeves directing it. I will stand by what I've said with Batman v Superman. I think that Ben Affleck's a solid choice for Batman. I liked his performance as Batman. I just didn't like the characterization, but he's promised a more traditional Batman for Justice League and the future. Again, it seems like they're making an apology for all their previous mistakes. That seems to be the route that all these DC movies go. But his brother, Casey Affleck, made a very interesting point in one of his interviews. I think he was on a radio show of some kind. And he raised the point that Ben Affleck was expressing doubts that he would return as the Batman in the Batman and essentially the future of the DC. Like Justice League would be his final one. And then he was bowing out. Later on in the interview, probably when he realized he made a huge blunder and said something he shouldn't have said, he backpedaled and said he was only joking. Nevertheless, Casey's representatives and Ben Affleck's representatives have all chimed in now, quashing everything, saying no, he's sticking on for it. He's still really enthusiastic about playing Batman. And Warner Brothers have refused to comment, which is just, of course they would. But to me, this isn't the only rumor that we've had. Like, there have been ones building to this, kind of stemming back right from the initial release of Batman v Superman and the critical reception, kind of coming to a head where Ben Affleck didn't want to direct the Batman anymore. And I think he's not even scripting it now, is he? Like, so it's got like a page one rewrite. I think there's no smoke without fire. So I think that, watch this space in terms of whether Ben Affleck's going to carry on playing the Batman.
Yeah, I think it's going to be... I think when he said at Comic-Con he was staying, someone was very quick to tweet, well, he's on the three picture contract. And after Justice League, he's done 2. So, yes, he has to return at least once. Apparently, his cameo in Suicide Squad didn't count, and I bet he's devastated about that. But I don't think he's here long-term at all. I think he's a very, very talented actor, director, and writer of all 3. And I feel that he's someone that doesn't want to get bogged down with the franchise. It's almost, I wouldn't say like a Nolan because it's different circumstances, but if you've got to be pulled in to do a Batman film to star in it, you've got probably a 4-month shoot, and you've got to take your normal reshoots of a couple of weeks. And if he's trying to direct a film in between knowing what he's got to do for DC, what's on and off, what's not, I can imagine him not wanting to get bogged down with a franchise. And I feel that it could be something that I wouldn't say he regrets picking Batman, but I feel that originally he only signed on to direct, and now he's not doing that. I'd imagine he probably just can't really be asked with it.
I think he was trying to follow in the footsteps of Christopher Nolan and put his own stamp on things, and then he's kind of been tied into the superhero machine, as it were, and he's seen what it's becoming and the critical reception so far, and I think he wants out of it.
Definitely.
So moving to like another superhero character that probably won't be in the next few films is Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. I don't know if it's been officially confirmed that he's not appearing or just that he hasn't signed up, but I think it's pretty much confirmed he's not going to be in Avengers Infinity War Part 1 or Part 2.
I'm not surprised. We know he's going to be in, what's it called? Captain Marvel. They've said that's going to be set in the 90s, but in all honesty, like I love Sam Jackson. He's been a bit of an idiot on Twitter recently with the John Boyega nonsense, but I don't think in Infinity War needs him. Like his storyline to me finished in Civil War, and him coming back in Age of Ultron was just a bit pointless. Him hiding in a barn. Yeah, I didn't really,
He should have died in Civil War.
Yeah, I feel that Whedon probably wrote that scene without knowing that he was half dead. But. Yeah, I'm not surprised they don't need him. They don't need to waste time. It's going to be a story that doesn't need any minutes wasted, and I think they're best off skipping that.
I would still have liked him because he is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I know S.H.I.E.L.D.'s I haven't watched the TV show, so I don't know the current state of affairs with it, and it doesn't really massively tie in with the films anymore anyway. But, he did put all this team together, and I think as it's kind of going off on its swan song, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, all the 20 odd films it's been, I would have liked to have seen him be in there. It makes sense that he would be in there for the last 2, the big finale. Every other character's coming in, throw Samuel Jackson. I don't know if his, like a 9-picture deal he was signed up for. I'm guessing that's pretty much come to an end at this point, and it's just too expensive to bring him back. Or maybe he just doesn't want to come back. Don't know the ins and outs of it. I would like to see him there, but, I'm not going to lose sleep over the fact that Samuel Jackson's not going to appear in Infinity War Part 1 or 2.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson, he'll come back for anything. So I feel this is more the Marvel saying we're kind of slightly done with you. You can come in our pre 2008 films from now on. let's be honest, he would never turn down anything. Just look at some of the films he's done.
Yeah.
Moving on from Justice League and Marvel news, we unfortunately do have some sad news regarding another superhero film. For those that haven't heard this week, obviously Deadpool 2 is being filmed currently in America or Canada, and there's been a tragedy on set where one of the stunt performers has died in a motorbike accident. What's been known is that it involved the motorbike going through a glass pane. Whether that's part of the film, I don't know, or whatnot, but obviously a very young stunt woman has died. She's called Joy S.J. Harris. It's her first film as a stunt performer, which has made this a lot more tragic. And she was the double of Domino, which means that she's very young given the character's age and stuff. And since this happened, Ryan Reynolds has obviously gone straight to Twitter to comment on it. Production has been shut down indefinitely, and there's now a police investigation taking place. One thing I will say before we get into it mainly is that looking at stunts as a whole for film, it's always been known that it's always been underlooked. Jason Statham's one of the big voices of all of that. Says every time, I don't understand why there's not an Oscar for stunts. Not me saying with any Oscar for stunts, but they are an integral part of cinema, and they seem to be abandoned whenever something happens with them.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. High take, by the way.
George isn't anyone who can crash parties, by the way.
Oh, the timing of this party and talking about a motorbike crash. Wow, how do we pick ourselves up from this down?
We move on
to let's move on. Chris, you can have this.
Okay, so God, I don't even know how to segue into this one, but Tom Cruise has also been injured on set filming Mission Impossible 6. There was a video released. I think it got pulled down, but I managed to find it really easily on Google of him performing a stunt from the upcoming Mission Impossible film, and he's just kind of lands awkwardly. He's doing a building jump essentially on a harness. Whereas it is believed to have broken 2 bones in his ankle, and it will take months to recover. And the rumors are that the film's going to be delayed up to 4 months. Paramount have yet to comment, and it could postpone the ultimate release date for the movie. First off, I'll say fair play to Tom Cruise doing his own stunts at his age. Like, you know, he can still do these films, but, you know, it's no fault of anyone's. These things happen on film sets. He'll be absolutely fine. He's got all the money that Hollywood can offer him. He'll make full recovery, but, you know, they've already messed around with the release dates of the previous Mission Impossible films. Like, I think 5 was brought forward by almost like half a year, I think, wasn't it? And that turned fine. If it gets delayed a bit, you know, no problem. Get the film sorted. I'll absolutely be there when it comes out because I've loved the last few Mission Impossible films. I mean, I hope Tom Cruise is going to be okay. It's clearly a bit of a bummer that this happened, but he'll be fine.
I have to say, like, this also kind of links back a bit towards the Deadpool discussion. I don't know what you guys actually said in it, but nowadays the stunts are trying to become, and they're trying to make them safer, obviously, but they're becoming more exuberant. They're trying to become bigger, better in every single way, shape, or form. And because of that, the amount of risk that goes up for not only the stuntmen, but the actors, if they want to do their own stunts, is multiplied massively. And I mean, it's an issue. I mean, right down to the smallest stunt where, what was it, the Maze Runner, the Death Cure, that film has been delayed for so long now because of like a minor injury on set, which went out of hand. And now you've got like bigger injuries or even deaths that are occurring on sets because everyone's trying to one-up each other. And even if they had the safety in place, sometimes it isn't enough. And I don't know, maybe it's the audience demanding more, or maybe it's the studio demanding more. But still.
And I mean, if you look at the other Mission Impossibles, Tom Cruise is a guy that he's, you know, he's gone to Taj Mahal. He's been on a bloody airplane and it's been flying in there. It's not a guy.
It's the Burj Khalifa.
Sorry, that's the everyone. I don't really look at giant buildings. That's not in Star Wars. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we know he does his stunts. One thing I wanted to say, James Gunn went on a bit of a rant, who you know from obviously Guardians of the Galaxy films, and he was speaking about S.J. Harris and the guy that passed away in Deadpool. And he mentioned this scathing, and this is what I think is very intriguing that I wanted to bring up. Because this loss reminds me how I believe the work of stunt people in our industry should be more routinely honoured. Few things irk me more than when I hear an actor claim he does all of his own stunts, as it is almost always a lie. I don't know a single American actor or action star about whom this is true. There's one very prominent star who, although they may do a lot more stunt work than the average actor, they're lying through their teeth when they do all of it. Screw them and everyone else who tries to take the credit from the stunt people who work their asses off and put their lives on the line every single day.
Wow.
we know who that's about.
Yeah.
But it's very, yeah. I mean, they're trying to up themselves, but the fact that this could postpone, obviously, both stories kind of together. Production has been shut down on 2 films now, 2 big films coming out next year, and I mean, they will postpone some of it. And what's irked me more is I've seen DC fans tweeting everywhere saying, "So can Henry Cavill shave his mustache off and start filming now?" Yeah, it's gonna be, you know, one of them. But I think, I mean, if you just look at Tom Cruise, he does everything. But the video itself, it looks like he lands normally, and then when he gets up, you know it's gone, and normally that's an injury. But it was like building to building. He landed half it, but I'm just imagining he smashed his ankle on the side of the brick wall. But I wonder with this, if they will be considering making any changes to his, you know, stunt work. I think
narrowing the buildings, maybe, just so
maybe. But it's like the whole Harrison Ford debacle when he was having the plane dramas. You know, people saying, "Well, let's take his pilot's license off him so he doesn't crash again." And I'm wondering if some higher ups are going to start saying to Tom Cruise, "Now listen, give the stunts your work because you are in your mid-50s now." I hope not, but it's just 2 big accidents inside a week. It's something we don't hear about, but what this means is that I think the industry will take a deeper look into stunt performers.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on, I'm going to bring up some stunt talk again in a minute with this one, but Daniel Craig has officially signed on for 1 more Bond film. I thought this was already confirmed, but it was clearly that he was in talks to come back. I heard rumors that it was 2 more Bond films, but he says that he's coming back for at least 1 more. I think that will definitely be his last, because by the time Bond 25 comes out, he'll be 51 in 2019.
He said it's his last film.
Oh, has he actually said?
He said the last one was his last film, and he slagged off James Bond since then. This is.
Oh, we know that this is
because I was going to say with like the age thing. Like apparently he damaged his knee doing the stunts for Spectre.
Yes, I remember he did actually.
Yeah,
because they delayed.
So
they delayed
carrying it on.
I remember filming got shuffled around a couple of weeks when that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. He's definitely. I mean, he was on an interview. I mean, it wasn't official via Facebook until he went on a talk show and come out to say, "I'm doing 1 more." He goes, "I want to go out on a high." Don't know if that's meant to be a dig at Spectre. I kind of like Spectre, although I was disappointed slightly. I
thought it was fine. You know, I preferred it a lot more than Skyfall. I know a lot of people don't, but
which one's better?
No, I
like both. I think with Spectre, just off a quick one, because I never really spoke much, them trailers genuinely had it shaped to be like one of the best James Bond films I've ever seen.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And I'm not bothered by the Blofeld stepbrother, because in the books, like a Game of Thrones person, James Bond did have an older stepbrother who did become a villain with that Obenhauser name, but I don't think Obenhauser turned into Blofeld.
No.
I'm guessing Christoph Waltz will come back for this, because he said he'd only come back if Daniel Craig did. I think they'll do 1 more film, then Lord Nolan shall take over, reboot, and create the greatest Bond film ever made.
No. I mean, it makes sense. I thought Spectre kind of wrapped up Daniel Craig's Bond anyway with the ending, but I guess most Bond films end that way, and with, you know, the hype of the Bond character. It's fine. I mean, he's served the character well. Like, how long has it been? Like, over 10 years he's been playing Bond at this point, and he'll be 51. I don't know if that makes him the oldest serving Bond. How old was Roger Moore?
Roger Moore was older than the Bond
to a Kill was his last
mother.
one, wasn't it, Roger Moore?
Yeah, Roger Moore was older than the Bond girl's mom in his last film. That's how old he was.
I knew he was old. I didn't know how old compared to...
I think he was like 58 or something like that.
Oh, shit, okay.
It could have been older. View to a Kill, 85. Yeah, he was 58. So, yeah. Again, it depends on how they are physically, not mentally, I guess physically more so than anything. Yeah. But I don't think there's anybody that thinks Craig should stay past his last one. Go off on a high. I want to see how they do.
I'm going to say he shouldn't even stay past this film, because the last film, I don't care what people say, the last film was atrocious. Skyfall was atrocious. It's just gimmicky at this stage. It's
atrocious. Gimmicky is James Bond.
Here's the problem. Quantum of Solace actually had some redeemable qualities in it, but people found the film quite boring.
No, dude.
No,
Dude, I would
Have you
love
watched-
gimmicky Bond. I would absolutely love gimmicky Bond. This is not gimmicky
No,
Bond.
as
This
in,
is
it's
really...
gimmicky. It's not gimmicky to Bond genre. It's gimmicky to other genres. It's basically become a shittier version of Jason Bourne, and Jason Bourne was a shit film.
No, James Bond's always been better than Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne's trying to be Bond, but articulating it's never worked.
It's just, I just don't feel like the writers and the actors have any heart in it at all. I mean, you had one of the greatest on-screen actors, I would say, of this generation in the shape of Christoph Waltz, and he was, I'm going to say this, one of the worst Bond villains post saying, "It was me, I was Blofeld." I was just like, no, I'm
I
done
thought
with
it was
this.
fine.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz was fine.
Perfectly fine if you don't attach the name to it, but as soon as you attach the name to it, the entire character changes. It's like saying, I don't have a backstory, and we're building up the backstory, and then the backstory being something completely different at the end.
It wasn't completely different at the end.
It's like saying Snape is Voldemort. That's basically what it is.
No, it would be more that Dudley would be Voldemort. It's his stepbrother.
Yeah. There you go then. That's the kind of
Well, I
comparison.
would be down
You have a
with that.
character with a backstory, and then you completely chuck that backstory away and just say, oh, no, it's one of the other villains we have.
Blofeld never really had a backstory. He was
No.
always he was always head of the
He was head
organization.
inspector. In the first 5 or 6 Bond films, you always kind of,
Yeah, but that's
like,
not a
hear him in the
backstory. That's
back
build
lines.
up.
Yes, but that builds up a story of a character.
But we're not taking 6 Bond films to get to it. Not in modern day. 6 Bond films
but
is done
instead,
12 years.
I mean, we have to question this now. Is this film a reboot or
Yes.
is it a prequel?
No, it's
a
if
reboot.
it's
If
finale
it's a-
and
if it's-
Nolan reboots it.
No, here's the thing though. If it's a prequel, then we have to question why Emma's been brought back twice in the shape of Judi Dench. If it's
Because she was great as
Yeah, they just recast her.
Don't change it. It'd be right, Tate. It'd be right. We've got Spider-Man: Homecoming now. If they choose to use J.K. Simmons again as J. Jonah Jameson, that doesn't make it in keeping with the Tobey Maguire series. It just means that it's a great cast member for that character, and you can't get anyone better.
It's a bit different.
That's the way I
it's a
see
bit
it.
different when you have 20 films before you start to reboot and recast, and when you have maybe like 5 or 6.
Well, we would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, by the time Homecoming 2 comes out, it'll be the 10th film with Spider-Man in it. So you're halfway there.
No, but here's the thing. It's like having the same character in the film franchise for 20 films.
Yeah, but Judi Dench
then
didn't play it for
changing
20
it
films.
for then changing
She
it
only
for
did
3
4.
films. She only did 4.
She's debuted
Right.
in Goldeneye.
She debuted in Goldeneye, which was 16 films at that point. So 16 films prior, where the same character set of the side character was the same. You change it, then you're rebooting it at that
No,
stage.
Tate,
You're keeping some characters behind. What even is that?
Tate, I think Casino Royale is kind of like the Batman Begins thing, where you could have viewed it if they didn't do Dark Knight, if they didn't do Dark Knight Rises, you could see it as a prequel, or keeping it in the same line as like the Tim Burton films and just chalking it up
I've
to a
always
prequel
seen
of that.
Casino as a reboot. That's how I've always viewed it. It was it was
Yeah.
a reboot of Bond. But when you look at Bond films, it's one character across like 50 years. Like 55 now.
I'm not gonna lie though. If there's one thing I can agree on, it's that Bond needs to be rebooted, and Christopher
Yes,
Nolan
Lord
would be a brilliant
Nolan.
choice for that.
Tom
Bond 26.
Hardy as James Bond. Not Eva Green, sorry. Marion Cotillard as a Bond girl. Cillian Murphy as Q. And why do I always forget his name?
Mark Rylance.
Mark Rylance, there you go, as M. You
Who would be the
have
villain? Who would you have as your villain?
Well, in a dream world, Leonardo DiCaprio as some like eco warrior, but he's like playing himself, but he's actually got a villainous gun.
Max Zorin kind of character.
He's gonna like take over the world, but like make everyone vegan or some like eco thing with it. Let's be honest. What I've just named, except DiCaprio, is the best possible way for James Bond to go in the future. I mean, they've already recast like Emma's a woman before, so they don't even need to do anything to have the main players.
Can I make my fan casting for a Bond
Go.
villain? Guy Pearce.
Ooh.
I am the Mandarin.
Yeah, oh yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that back.
Michael
Michael Fassbender.
Too obvious. He'd be a good Sean Bean, as in like another spy gone bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as a mastermind, you want like DiCaprio.
What about J.K. Simmons, the Bond villain?
I couldn't unsee him from J. Jonah Jameson. I'm sorry.
Like, I
I'm,
can't
I'm,
unsee
watch,
him.
I'm watching
I can't
Justice
unsee
League and I
him.
still can't unsee him.
Like Whiplash is just completely changed my perception of him.
Shall we move on to other
Yes.
movie news? Or...
Yes, let's fly
Yeah,
because
we need to-
I've got work in like 6 hours ish.
Right, Sicario sequel.
Yes, I still haven't seen Sicario. I don't know why. I've really wanted to watch it. I never got around to it. Still haven't. I guess you can say about most films the last 2 years. The sequel's called Soldado, which to me is just a terrible Tottenham footballer, and it has a release date of June 29th, 2018. Production will begin at the end of the year, and Javier Bardem and Benicio del Toro are returning. Like I said, I haven't seen the first one. I just assume that Emily Blunt's dead at the end of it. That's why she's not coming back. Or she's too busy filming Mary Poppins.
The end of the film is very kind of... The character, shall we say, is no longer part of the game.
Yeah. The one thing that's kind of turning me off this thing is that Denis Villeneuve isn't directing it. Obviously, he's tied up with Blade Runner, and then he's got a bunch of other projects lined up after this one, I think, that he's in talks with. I'll still go and see it. I loved Sicario. What was it, 2015 that film came out? It was one of my favorite films from 2015. Great thriller film, fantastic performances across the board. One of the tensest films I've seen in years. I don't know if a sequel is needed, really. I think you could just leave it at Sicario. I'll go and see it, though. The one thing that is kind of preventing me from, well, not preventing me from seeing it, but I'm cautious about is the fact that the director who made the first one so great isn't coming back to direct this one.
I'm really surprised that studios nowadays, they wouldn't just latch onto things and call this film Despacito. But instead, they've gone with Soldado, which I'll have to agree with George, is a terrible footballer who was at Tottenham. I don't even know whether he's there anymore. I think he's kind of faded into obscurity.
Is it a biopic now?
I really hope not.
Well, they, as far as my football knowledge is concerned, they signed him and he only scored penalties for them in his entire run at Tottenham. Beautiful.
Yeah, I think got one goal for open play in the Carling Cup, but that's a conversation for another inbox.
Okay, let's move on to I can't even say his name. Takiki Waititi.
Easily one of like the coolest guys on Twitter and in the world. If you haven't seen it, just Google Takiki Waititi at Comic-Con, and he's just turned up in the most outrageous like Hawaiian shirt, and the whole Thor cast are like latching onto him. It's just one of the most iconic images I've ever seen in my life. He's absolutely jokes, and he's been talking about Thor 3, saying that if you haven't noticed by now, Flash Gordon has inspired the design of the film, a lot of the, not I wouldn't say story as such, but the whole concept of it. And then he also kind of said, I didn't write down the schedule, that says, if Queen were alive, I would have definitely paid them any money in the world to have them do a song for it too. I do get a Flash Gordon vibe from this film, and I can't wait for it. It looks like so much fun and different for Marvel, I think, as well. That's a key word.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is going to be a running theme now with their cosmic films. I didn't really pick up on the Flash Gordon thing, but I'm sure when I see the movie, I will probably get that. It definitely looks like it's the same keeping in terms of having fun with it, being really like over theatrical and colourful and flamboyant, and that's fine. It's going to be a very different kind of Thor film, but you know the Marvel films have advanced, some would say, and they're trying new. Well, we talk about cookie cutter formula, but out of all of them, this one seems like it's the one doing something a little bit different. I'm looking forward to it. I love Flash Gordon, so if it is like that, then I'm completely fine with that. Just needs more Brian Blessed in there, and it will be the complete package.
So, you know in the trailer where she asks for what were you the god of again, and then he comes down with the thunder and lightning, can we get Flash to play?
Oh my god. Can Thor have like a mixtape like Guardians of the Galaxy and just have that on there?
Oh no, he just like, I borrowed this from a friend, starts playing it. Flash!
Yes!
Comes down on the bridge.
Make that happen.
Okay, moving on.
Amazing.
Moving on, Chris Columbus, you know, the guy that did the first Harry Potters and used to be a kind of big deal until he crashed and burned.
Home Alone 1 and 2.
He says he's finished a script for Gremlins 3 and that it's now up to Warner Bros. To move along with the film. I don't really know where I stand with this. Like, I haven't seen Gremlins 1 and 2, but I mean, did Warner Bros. Has he just wrote a script to be relevant, or have Warner Bros. Said, do you know what, can you write us a script, or is it him begging to make a film? I don't know.
Tate, make a note for Future Film Club. Make George watch Gremlins 1, please.
I know the main characters.
But I don't like Gremlins 1.
Oh, fuck you guys. Fuck, what is wrong with George? You're fair enough. You haven't watched the movie yet. Tate, what the fuck?
It wasn't part of my childhood.
Gremlins?
I hate E.T.
I hate E.T. as well.
I'm kind of there. I'm kind of there with you. I don't hate it.
Overrated films of all time.
Yeah. Dude, fucking Gremlins. It's a fucking classic. Wow. Okay. My take on this, I say this all the time. They're just resurrecting every product from the 80s that they can. 80s or 90s, whatever it happens to be. Chris Columbus, like with his name attached to it, fair enough. Like his last film that I saw was Paddington. I think he's directing Paddington 2 as well.
Wait, he directed Paddington? Are you sure?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you?
I don't know if he's done Paddington 2 though. I'm 100% sure.
Directed by Paul King.
Oh, I'm not 100% sure. I have now notched that down to 0% sure. Didn't he have something to do with it though? Was he like a producer on it or something?
No, I know the guy that produced the Harry Potter films produced it. So there may have been his production company might have had something to do with it. I don't know, but
okay.
He did Pixels.
Oh, okay.
I liked Pixels. I will say that.
I still haven't seen Pixels actually, so I can't comment on that.
He did Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb.
Okay. My point is, Gremlins doesn't need to be resurrected, and if it is resurrected, they're not going to use puppets in it. It'll be CGI. It might be like a Goosebumps kind of tone to it, which is not what I think.
I think it's going to have a new Ghostbusters tone to it.
Yeah,
all women.
and that's not what I want.
All women Gremlins.
What are they called? The little cuddly one.
That was a woman Gremlin. Gizmo.
That's it. Woman Gizmo.
Mogwai. Mogwai is the name of the species. Gizmo is just a cute little.
Why do you know that, Chris?
Because I have taste, and Gremlins is a great movie. Get some culture and watch Gremlins.
No, Bad Boys 3 has been pulled from Sony's schedule.
Thank Christ.
I love.
That's all I have to say.
I'm not gonna lie. I love Bad Boys 1 and 2, but I really would not want to see a Bad Boys 3. Bad Boys 2 ended right where I wanted it to. I couldn't deal with any more.
I haven't seen any of them, and I'm a Michael Bay fan. He wasn't going to be doing the third anyway, so as far as I'm concerned, it's dead.
And that covers it for our movie news this week, I think. So
Tate has one thing we didn't add in the extra. He's come to talk about his favourite Academy Award-winning actress of this year.
Okay, so Mabey, Emma Stone is now the highest-grossing actress on the planet. She has overtaken Jennifer Lawrence on the #1 spot. So yeah,
how much is she earn a year again?
I don't actually quite know, but I have to say I'd say it's deserved. I mean, as far as like an actual actress who goes in and does kind of the arts and crafts and kind of goes for Oscars and stuff like that, goes for the awards instead of just being kind of an action star, or I don't even know what Jennifer Lawrence is nowadays. Like she's all over the place.
She's with Chris Martin, isn't she?
No idea, but yeah. Yeah, I'm glad for her.
Emma Stone has made $26 million. For someone that's into the artsy, that's demanding a lot of money to be in the artsy films when that's probably paid more than most of their budgets. What I will say is that The Rock earns $64 million a year.
You just brought up a whole gender argument now in the comments, George.
I know, I didn't mean that. I meant it. And if you look at his box office, like you understand why he gets paid a lot, whereas with her, like I do understand the concept.
For her, it's the name that comes. It's the name that comes with it for the awards. Like for action blockbusters, you get a flash when it comes out. You get a flash when it comes on DVD, and then maybe like the occasional kind of odd talk about it. If it's a cult like film, a big action blockbuster like Mad Max, you'll be talked about for years. But with some films, like with take The Rock for example, with the Fast and Furious franchise, I don't hear many people talking about Fast and Furious 6. I hear people talking about Fast 8, like because it was the most recent film.
Well, yeah, because it's the most recent. Well, everyone talks about Fast 5 anyway, not Fast 6.
No one talks about Hunger Games anymore.
No one talks about Hunger Games anymore.
No one talks about La La Land either.
People do.
No, they don't.
I love La La Land, and I'll be the first to admit no one talks about La La Land anymore.
Listen, The Rock, right? You can't. I'm not talking. He's got a show that's been leaked entirely called Ballers on HBO. He gets talked about everywhere. Like even his tattoo getting disgustingly destroyed and re-tattooed over the top. That was like high up on a lot of news websites. The fact that The Rock's tat gets more attention than some people's salaries says a lot about him. I'm not getting into a gender debate. I think it's more of how much I fucking love The Rock and how much I hate La La Land. But with Emma Stone, like she did do her franchise Amazing Spider-Man, and obviously she got killed off in it, but that franchise died anyway. I think she's someone where she's been wise with the project she's picked. She's picked the Oscar film. She's picked the big film. She's picked the right films. I won't lie. I don't know what's coming up next for her. But now she's won the Oscar, she can demand more. But I will say this, as someone that does not like Jennifer Lawrence at all, there's something quite sweet about her because she was the one moaning 24/7 that she doesn't get paid enough. it was always she doesn't get paid enough, not others don't get paid enough. And I think Emma Stone, she's very political in the right way that Emma Watson is when they're talking about sort of feminism and stuff. It's not about me, it's about us, and that's the right mentality compared to some people.
Agreed.
Okay, so I think that covers it, doesn't it? We're skipping trailer talk this week because
there isn't really.
I don't think we've watched.
There was only one tiny bit of one trailer which was worth talking about, and that was Doctor Strange at the very start of a new Thor Ragnarok trailer. But that was only an extra 10 seconds of footage.
Yeah, and most of the trailers anyway, like for example, Batman vs. Two-Face, which is the upcoming DC Entertainment animated film, last performance of Adam West as the Batman character. I'll be doing a reaction to that later this week. I know there was a second trailer that's gone up for Mother, which I'll also be doing a reaction for. So that's why I haven't watched the trailers to get my first reaction out. But I think we're just going to go on.
Yeah, we'll skip. But everyone look at the Death of Stalin trailer. It's going to be a very, very, very funny comedy written by, I think, Amado Anici, who did The Thick of It. I forgot what the film version was called, in the Loop or something like that. Basically, he made Peter Capaldi relevant to the world. And he's a phenomenal writer, and it's got an incredible cast. And it's going to be hilarious. So check that trailer out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's Molly's Game, which is just the Aaron Sorkin's directorial debut, which is probably going to be in the Oscar season. I'm assuming he's wrote it as well. There'd be no reason for him not to. But yeah, we're just kind of glossing over trailer talk. Box office breakdown. This is where we go. Annabelle debuted at #1 with 35 mil. I think they predicted something like 20 to 25 mil, so it's done very well in its prediction standards. Very low. It's been a very low sort of summer, I guess, for box office blockbusters in America. They reckon it's down 15% on last year at this time, so that'll be interesting to see if that picks up or not. Dunkirk retook #2. Well, sorry, it stays #2, but it took over Dark Tower. It's got, again, its percentages dropped like 33%, whereas the average film drops like 50, then 60, then 70. But it's generally just dropping off in thirds, which is incredible. Done amazing internationally, especially in England. Obviously, it's on now 360 million worldwide, which is its budget was 100 mil, so it's recouped that a lot more, and it's making Nolan rich because of his amazing payday contract. The Nut Job 2, which sounds absolutely awful, has entered at #3 with $8 million.
George, you forgot the tagline, nutty by nature.
I didn't want to. It just sounds like some awful porno that you see somewhere. I'm sorry, but it just sounds like something that's in one of them shitty scary movie films. It just sounds like it would be written in one of them. So yeah, that's in at #3 with $8 million. It's a kids animated film, isn't it? I've just got a bad feeling it's going to be full of pedos at the cinema. Then we've got the Dark Tower, which is bombed. I couldn't even think of a tower meme like Lord of the Rings.
Back-to-back huge bombings with like Valerian coming last week.
Yeah, and I think, at least this budget was like 65 mil, and it might scrape its budget back, but I don't think it's going to get its marketing money and all that.
Well, see, we get Dark Tower this week, don't we? Yeah,
especially when they're trying to kickstart probably a Stephen King cinematic universe or whatever the hell this Dark Tower series is meant to be. I know it's hyped up, but I don't really care. It's second. Last week it won the box office by Dunkirk of I think it was like a mil or two more, and then it's crashed and burned to 4th. It's made 7 mil. It's on 55 million worldwide for a film that's meant to start a franchise. That's absolutely abysmal. Vaguely better than Valeria, but it looks awful, and it's just going to keep dropping and dropping off. So that's the kind of main ones. What I will say, last week I spoke about this Chinese film that's blown up, Wolf Warriors 2. It's only come out in China, and it's now been out 2 weeks. Sorry, inside 2 weeks, it's made $682 million worth. It's now the 8th highest grossing film of the year. It's going to overtake Spider-Man this weekend because it's the highest grossing Chinese film of all time in their country.
Jesus Christ!
I really hope that they have made the figures up, but it would just be so funny that the film no one's heard of is overtaking like everyone else's. It just goes to show how big their box office is when it's done properly. But yeah, Wolf Warriors 2, it's a thing. I don't know anything about it. I've never even seen a trailer for it, but right. It's probably their version of Star Wars, I guess, like the film that everyone in China went to watch that one time. They'll probably make Wolf Warriors 3, but again, no one cares. Outside of China, sorry. Weekend preview. This is going to be fun. Hitman's Bodyguard, that terrible film with Ryan Reynolds and actors coming out. That's going to debut at #1 with 18 mil. Another awful opening for a #1 for a summer. Logan Lucky is to debut with, they now think, 11 million, which looks absolutely hilarious. I cannot wait to see that when it comes out in England. That's going to debut at #3. Annabelle is expected to retain #2, and Dunkirk is expected to take #4, and again, staying strong. that's the box office breakdown. It's been a dead month, and it's going to be pretty quiet, I guess. Yeah. It's going to be pretty quiet until I think. Is there any blockbusters left that's not Star Wars this year? Thor, Justice League. Like I can't imagine. There's going to be a lot less, 1 versus 2 battles and whatnot. But
welcome to the, what is it? Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, maybe. Possibly.
That's going to get annihilated by Star Wars. Yeah, the box office it's dead. In America, they mess. I think a lot of companies messed up their releases and stuff like that.
I guess we got Blade Runner as well, October, maybe. But I think that's going to be a very
that'll be an interesting
niche audience. Go and see that, perhaps. But yeah, so I'll pass over to you for the outro. But I will say later this week we're going to get back to movie reviews. I'll be on a review for Annabelle Creation, which I saw last week. Really enjoyed that movie, but I'll go into much more depth about that film at the weekend. And Tate, I believe you're seeing Atomic Blonde. We'll have a review. Yeah, again, I saw that last week as well, but we'll have a review on that. Undecided at this point whether we're going to be doing a review on The Dark Tower, as it's kind of died, and I don't know what showing time is going to be like in the UK, but we might have a review for that. More trailer reactions as well by the end of this week. I've mentioned all the ones I'm going to be doing a reaction for, but look out for more of those at the end of the week. And next Wednesday, we are aiming to do a battle of the brackets, and we've had a change of plan. We will be doing the best game, the best or greatest doesn't make a difference. The greatest Game of Thrones character, brackets, the TV ones, and not the book. The books don't count because it's just a cheat code and anyone can go on Wikipedia. But that should be. We want to do that next Wednesday. Very topical. That's going to be entertaining as hell. I absolutely cannot wait, especially for the Photoshop of all the dead bodies for when they get eliminated out of a round as well. But yeah, and also obviously we've got a Game of Thrones reviews coming out. I'm assuming that our episode 6 review will come out because we're not criminals that illegally watch TV episodes online. We're good boys. We're gonna wait for bang on 2 a.m. on Sunday to watch it for the first time. Because I wouldn't wake up one morning and see HBO Spain's deletes an episode and think, you know what, I'll watch it. I'm not that kind of guy. No, we frown upon that. Not me. I haven't been sending links to people to download. No, not me. Don't do drugs, kids. No, definitely not. And just remember, guys, piracy is a crime. Unless you're on Greyjoy. Yeah, you wouldn't steal a computer. You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal something else. You wouldn't steal one episode of Game of Thrones on the internet. But they didn't exactly. We didn't exactly, or people didn't exactly steal it. It's like someone dropping a $5 on the street and you looking at that $5 and then the $5 blowing away when it gets removed, Oh, it's not getting removed, dude. It's like everywhere now. It's submitted on the internet for all. Well, the $5 can be seen everywhere simultaneously. Definitely. Is this just wrapping up? I want to thank everyone for the comments. We've had a lot of people asking about Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff. Quickly, Lucas McManus. I guess the Obi-Wan movie will be the next standalone after The Last Jedi. Wrong. That's the Han Solo film that we've all forgotten about coming out in May. It will be the first one coming after Episode 9. I guarantee you 2020 release date. 2020, I know, but it'll be 2020. It'll definitely be 2020. But yeah, this has been over Cinema Savvy News. We have flown by because it's been a dead week. Thank God for that Obi-Wan news. We would have finished probably about 20 minutes earlier. I've got to get off. Chris has got to get off. We all need to carry on with our normal lives. But join us later this week for everything we've just previously said. And this has been Cinema Savvy News, and we will see you next week. Goodbye. Oh, no, wait. Be sure to like, follow, share, all that nonsense. Ring the bell. Now I'm saying goodbye. See you in a bit.